So hi everybody, my name is Francois Petousis and I am the CEO and one of the founders of Lumkani. Lumkani actually began as my undergraduate engineering thesis around 13 years ago, so a long time back. You can change slides. One of the first community members I ever worked with was a community member named Lumka in UT Gardens, Khayelitsha, and after working with her for almost a year, going every week for a community meeting, I went one week and her home and 12 others around her had burnt down in a fire. And it's probably one of the more devastating experiences on this journey. Sadly, don't have to tell everybody in the room about the other extent of the damage, but it was a very emotional experience that really kind of galvanized an organization around trying to solve for this challenge in our communities. And so we started Lumkani. We know that this is not a unique story. The Fire Protection Association of South Africa report that 2.1 billion rands worth of informal property has been lost by homeowners in the last decade. And we as an organization exist to create safe and resilient communities against this disaster as well as in future others. And we do it through two primary ways. You can go. The first is through technology. I was an engineer, so that's where we began. And the key thing we were trying to do was create early warning at the start of a fire. Sorry, I was racing. Okay, keep going. I think I've hit the key. Okay, sorry, I'll slow down a little bit. So the first thing that we tried to do was build a solution to the challenge of fires through creating early warning in community. We designed these fire detectors specifically for informal homes. And one of the first things we did is we wanted to make sure that we picked up a fire as soon as is possible. And one of the key things that we found was that using basically international standards for fire detectors didn't work in an informal settlement. And so we had to design and redesign our technology until we could eventually, after 4 major iterations, build a technology that picked up the earliest stage of fire, so as soon as a fire is sensed in the community. And we measure heat instead of smoke. So we pick up the earliest rise of temperature that you can show is linked to a fire. And there's been a lot of research done in relation to the ways in which smoke detectors create too many nuisance alarms in the very kind of smoky, dusty environments of informal homes. Now, at that point in time, our fire detector rings inside of a house. But and that's kind of what a normal fire detector would do. Is that when one of those fire detectors rings, immediately afterwards, all neighboring alarms within a 60-meter radius all ring at the same time. And that creates this community-wide call to action on the ground to know that a fire has started in its earliest stage. At the same time, we send text messages to all community members. So if people are at work or they're just down the road at a friend's, they get a message and it will tell them if there's a fire inside their home, it'll say there's a fire in your home, or it will tell you if there's a fire in one of your neighboring homes in the area. And with that, we're able to show after years of rolling out this technology that additional time that a community has in the earliest stage of fire can make a massive difference in preventing a fire that could impact hundreds of homes and limiting it to the first home where it began. Along the journey, we rolled out our first system in UT Gardens in Khayelitsha in 2014. 2 days after we rolled out in our first 400 homes, we got an alert on the system. We saw there was a fire in the area. We called community leaders. We said, is there a fire? They checked, they confirmed there was a fire. We raced to the community and we found out that basically a fire had started where somebody had been cooking outside, open fire, and the embers had gone underneath their neighbor's door. And this person wasn't at home. Fire started, the alarm rang, neighbors heard the alarm, came outside, saw the smoke, and put out that fire, broke down the door of their neighbor's house and put out that fire when it was just kind of half the home burnt out. And that for us was, initially a really amazing success. And then we found out afterwards that the person whose home it was had been in hospital at the time, giving birth to their child, and now they were coming home to a burnt down home. And even though a fire that could have been 100 homes had been stopped, there was still this personal devastation. And so we began to endeavor, how do we deal with that as well? And so we partnered with Halad and developed this world first fire detection and fire insurance product. So people could actually insure their home against fire. And I'll tell you more about that. Where we're at today is we're trying to expand what we're doing nationwide. You can go to the next slide. So far, our technology is in 100,000 homes, informal homes around South Africa today, and a little bit in Kenya and a little bit in Bangladesh. After every fire, our call center will call the homeowner to find out what happened in that fire event. And in 95% of fire events, community members report that the Lumkani system helped to limit the spread of fire. We have given jobs to over 220 women at the moment in informal communities around South Africa. And we've got over 800 million rands worth of informal property insured against fire. And we've paid out over 30 million rands in claims back into the hands of informal homeowners after fire events so that they can rebuild their lives. You can go to the next slide. One project we ran was with an organization called the GSMA, and we rolled out into 20,000 homes in multiple areas around the country. And Kantar did a third-party study into the impact we created in that project. And just two specific stats is that they supported that 94% of fire outbreaks were limited due to the impact of the fire alarms. And 87% of households felt strongly that they were safer as a function of having these fire alarms. Here's a recent story from Khayelitsha, where somebody spoke about the fact that a fire had started, they were asleep, it was about 3 a.m., and they were awakened by the alarm. They dressed, they got out the house rapidly, they tried to go back to save their stuff, but the fire was very powerful. The alarms were ringing in the area, neighbors came through, and they stopped the fire before it spread to any other homes. We also called the firefighters, but by the time they arrived, it was already out. And earlier in 2024, there'd been a single fire in Khayelitsha that had burned down 500 people's homes, and the difference was that early warning. Oh, 2 minutes. And 4 working days later, this person received a 25,000 rand claim to rebuild what they'd lost. And that's what Lumkani exists to do. Stop fires that could be massive community-wide events, limit them to ideally less than one home, and give people the finances to rebuild so that they can get back on their feet afterwards. Jenny, you can go to the next one. And there's so many more stories, but I don't have many times to talk about it, so I'm going to have to skip over some of these. But we have hundreds and hundreds of stories showing the impact that the system has. We offer people cover. They get a fire detection system, as well as up to 40,000 rand of cover for their home and contents for only 88 rand a month. And you even get discounts on groceries and shopping and education for your kids and tutors for your high school students and all the rest, all embedded in the work that we do. But at the same time, we know that not everybody can afford to bring this for themselves. And so we've partnered with a number of organizations. This is actually a map showing all the clients we have around the city of Cape Town. Who have our fire detectors and who have fire insurance. And there's live data that shows kind of continuously where our clients are. But we also partner with other organizations, government institutions. And so we recently rolled out in 1,000 homes in Khayelitsha through the support of the city of Cape Town. There's a map of it. We also worked with Heineken and rolled out recently into 2,000 homes in the Midvaal municipality in Gauteng. You can keep going because I'm out of time. in the 2 years of that project, we had 396 fire events where the Lumkani system alerted the community to the presence of fire. And here's another story of somebody saying that I was sleeping and the alarm was the one that woke me up. And when I woke, I realized that there was a fire and tried my best to extinguish it as fast as I could. I stopped the fire in the kitchen, nothing else in my house burnt. And they said that if it wasn't for the Lumkani device, things could have been a lot worse. And that's in Masixole in Mandoval. And Lumkani basically exists for this. We want to give people access to a combination of technology and insurance so that they can protect themselves against fire. And at the same time, we want to partner with organizations to create impactful interventions that create community-wide safety. And that's why we're here, to do that and in the process limit the cycles of poverty that exist from fire.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Portia from Lumkani. I'll just firstly, before we play the video, because of the audio technical issues, so I'll just tell you about my experience as a community person from Lumkani and as a worker of Lumkani. So. So on my side, I've started working at Lumkani 2018 after the big fire that happened on 2017 on March. So I've worked at Lumkani as a sales agent. And from sales agent, I grew up. So I was affected with fire. And I've experienced a lot of being traumatized based on fire. So when people are affected by fire, they get more traumatized. And most of them, they lost a lot of their contents, and most of them lost IDs, birth certificates, cards. So my experience on that, Lumkani helped a lot of people. At the time when Lumkani came in IY, when Lumkani came in IY, it helped a lot of people, and so people started to join the fire cover. So on the fire cover, when we started paying 60 rand at that time, so each and every time it was difficult for everyone to join the insurance. So no one was trusting the insurance. People thought it's a scam, but it was a few of those who joined. And then the time, I think it was a claim in 2000, I'm not sure, but it was on May. It was one client, and then that client claimed. And after that, that experience, everyone wanted to join Lumkani. So 2000, so everyone wanted to join our fire cover. And since then, Lumkani was, as Francois was saying, showing you the map, and Lumkani was all over Cape Town, and I was also part of those agents who was roving, moving from IY to Masixole to Langa to Khayelitsha. So I've experienced a lot of work, and I've gained a lot of trust from communities, different communities. And in some communities, no one knows me, but when I come with this idea of Lumkani, and everyone will be trusting me. So I'll be playing the video. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matunywa. I work for Community Organization Resource Center. So our job is not necessarily based on fire or fire related. Okay. So what we do is we are doing informal settlement upgrading or upgradement. So this is who we are. We are an alliance. This alliance consists of four organizations. It's FedUp, ISN, CORC, and Uchani. So FedUp deals with savings. Yes. It's mainly women. And then ISN is for upgradement of informal settlements. Then CoP supports these two networks. So I will ask Jenny to move, please, with this slide. So that's what we do. Those are the tools: savings, women, data collection, and exchanges, partnerships. So I won't dwell much on this because this is where, these are the pictures of the saving schemes from the FedUp. And we do have Umama Wetu there at the back, who is a member of a saving scheme of FedUp. These are the saving trusts and the groups. And that's a data collection, a profiling. So what we normally do as an organization is that we collect data, and the data that we collect, we use it to engage with municipality, right? So normally in formal settlements, they don't know, they stay there, but they don't know their data. So what we do is we get the data from them, using them to get the data, then we use the data to engage now with our local or our provincial or national. Okay, then we have exchanges from people who, because FedUp has 9 regions and ISN has 4 regions. So we normally get exchanges from people who are in other provinces. And this is where we build our local and provincial partnerships, where we engage with our councillors and our human settlements representatives. And it's still the same thing. We have our Deputy Minister of Human Settlements there. Still the same there. So normally we partner with CPUT, UCT, and all other academics. Now this is where we get to the informal settlements upgradement. So this is what we do. Some of the things that we do as an organization. So as you can see, as we all know that informal settlements, anyone can just come and build anyhow. You will see that your house and my house, they are facing each other. So some of the things that affects our informal settlements is fire. And when maybe there's fire, it will be hard for any fire vehicle to access or to come into the formal settlement. So what we normally do as an organization is when we get money. Yes, what we do is we normally, this was a project that was done in Mjilana. This is our before and after. This is the reblocking. So we know that in informal settlements, you will get houses that are so close to each other that it makes it very hard for any vehicle to come into that settlement. So this is what we did. That's how it used to look, and this is how it looks now after reblocking. Now it makes it easy for any kind of vehicle to access or to come into the settlement. As I mentioned earlier, that we don't only focus on one thing. So these are also some of the projects that
This is the project
the organization has done in informal settlement. The same thing here. This was in Flamingo Crescent in Lansdowne, where we did the reblocking. This is also the reblocking in California in Fulani. So that's what we normally do in our organization. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to speak on what we as disaster risk management has been doing in the sphere of fire safety. Yes. So the City of Cape Town has done a risk assessment in collaboration with the Provincial Disaster Risk Management Centre. And this scientific risk assessment has informed us that fire is the highest risk for the city, especially in informal settlements. So there's about 460 informal settlements across the city. In order for us to prioritize the high risk areas, we use data sets from fire services. And then we look at the frequency of fires, occurrences of fires, the severity thereof, and then also the fatalities we also take into account. And thereby we identify the high risk areas. And we do this every year so that we can do our awareness programs in the informal settlements. So from this risk assessment that has been identified, we also try to identify risk reduction strategies. So we've established a fire safety team which consists of disaster risk management, our human settlements department, sandparks, Cape Nature, and our Western Cape Fire Services is also part of this team. So we brought them together because we just want to identify interventions that we can do in the informal settlements and also get strategies in place in terms of mitigation measures. We have also introduced a webinar where fire risk in informal settlements has been highlighted, and the University of Stellenbosch has been part of this. Again, the Western Cape Fire Services has been part of this, and it's just to get to the specialist knowledge on fire safety and strategies that needs to be put in place. There was also a few projects where they installed smoke alarms in some of the areas that has been identified. So Masiphumelele, Ikoli, Khayelitsha, Hamburg, Wallisdean, those are the areas that received these smoke alarms. Just recently, we finalized the project now 2 weeks ago, where smoke alarms was installed in identified pockets in the informal settlements of the Noon, Langa, and Joe Slovo. So we are very dependent on outside assistance as well. So for this specific project, Astron took the lead and they provided the smoke alarms and we collaborated with them. Then we had the Waka Waka Solar Lights project, and that was in Umfuleni, Flamingo Crescent, Philippi, Bonnytown, Wynberg and Philadelphia. And this was, the focus for this project was mainly on the safe use of candles. We also received fire extinguishers, which we distributed in Salori Sports Village, Langa, Asanda Village in Strand, Goliath Estate, Kraaifontein and in Bellville. Then we had the paint projects. The paint that was used to slow down the spread of fires. So there was two different projects there. And one of these projects was the project of Mandoval, and I know that they will talk after this about that. So the coating that was put on the structures that was identified in this specific area. And we must say it was a successful project. There were 2 fires there in the one area that I know in Overcome Heights. If you want to know more about that, you can speak to Joshua Fortune. But if I can just say that there were 2 fires and it was beautifully contained with this paint that was, the product that was put on the structures. Our capacity building and community leadership program. So we had a ward allocation program where the sub-council gives us, they provide us with funding, and then we have to go out in that specific community, which was the sub-council 19 and 14. And we identified vulnerable communities in the area, senior groups, youth groups and community leaders, and we provide workshops and training on fire safety, on first aid, on emergency planning for the household, the correct emergency number to use in emergency response. And for this year, there's another ward or sub-council in the area that has also come to ask for assistance, so we will just extend this program to the second ward as well. Then we have our public awareness sessions. So earlier on I was speaking about the risk assessment that was done and the high risk areas that was identified. So what we do is to go out into these identified areas. We do door-to-door campaigning and loud hailing, where we engage with the community members to explain to them the risk of fires and give them tips on how to prevent fires and how to mitigate fires as well. Our media is very involved. Our corporate media, corporate communications department is very involved in our media as well. So we do social media campaigning and radio. I don't know if you heard the 2 children who's giving fire safety tips on the radio now. That's also part of our media campaigning. Okay, I need to move a little bit faster now. The challenges that we have is the challenges that we have is behavior of the communities in the high-risk areas, because we can do everything that we want to do, but if the behavior doesn't change, then everything is lost. Fire investigations, we don't do fire investigations, but we need to do education and awareness, but we don't know the root cause. And fire investigations isn't done in the city. It all comes down to SAPs, but we never get feedback from them. So that is a big challenge for us. Funding is a big problem. We want to engage with the community on or in areas where we know we will reach a vast amount of people. Radio, billboarding. But if I can just tell you that our budget in public awareness is 300,000 rand for the financial year. Oh, there's your waves. And if you want to do radio and billboarding, it comes to over 3 million rand for us. So yes, you can see all the challenges that we have here. If I can just, the emergency number is a big problem for us. If people don't know the correct emergency number, it influences our response time. 107 is from a landline, it's free, nobody uses landlines anymore. Emergency, the 021480770 number that we use, from a cell phone, people need to pay for that. So, there's your dances again. Yeah, so I think afterwards, if you want to know a little bit more about this, then we can have a chat. Thank you very much.
Funded by Mandoval, the company that I work for. We also then had assistance from the city's disaster risk management department. Big thank you to Josh. Guys, so yeah, informal fires and informal settlements are a major threat worldwide. 95% of all fire-related deaths occur in low and medium income countries. Guys, in South Africa alone, we see 15 to 30 informal fires and at least one fatality per day. The situation is worsened by the rapid urbanization and a lack of adequate housing. Okay. Then, why TechRoxy? This pilot project aimed to test a fire retardant cementitious product, TechRoxy, to help reduce the spread of fires and to protect lives and infrastructure. The objectives were to reduce the number of dwellings affected during a fire, minimize fatalities and injuries, protect critical infrastructure like our fire hydrants, toilets, power lines. Where and how was it done? Guys, that's not on the presentation. It was a lot of hard work from Josh and then my direct boss, Andrew, planning, I think, Josh, 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, before we started with this. Okay. The pilot was conducted in Overcome Heights in the Section A, chosen due to fire frequency, and also active community leadership, which is CORC and mentor, guys. Okay. Project duration was 6 months, just over 6 months. We had 2 phases. Phase 1 was 33 structures fully coated, including an early childhood development, which was very important to us as that's our future. Phase 2 was 47 structures, 12 fully coated, 35 partially coated. We'll get to the part now why it's only 35 partially coated, guys. Due to spacing limitations, partial coatings was used and fire buffer zones created. a new strategy to slow down fire spread even when full coating wasn't feasible. Guys, that's where Kindling came in. Danielle herself and Leslie, myself and Josh, guys, we had a lot of fights, a lot of discussions on who, what, and how to do things, as it was all new for us. Big learnings, Danielle, I think, yeah, that's it, yeah. So yeah, guys, the mapping, Danielle and Leslie helped us a lot with that. If it wasn't for that, I don't know what we would have done, to be honest. To understand fire spread risk, the team used geographic information systems and high resolution aerial photography that was done by Kindling. This allowed us to digitize dwellings and identify critical separation distances, and also with feedback from the community on where fires normally would happen and would not happen. Research done by Wang in 2021 shows that dwellings less than 1 meter apart have a very low survival probability, while those more than 3 meters apart are far less likely to ignite during fires. Guys, I say we used, but it was actually Leslie and Danielle that did it. We had big, this you can see, this is just a small picture. We had a wall, I think, Josh, maybe 7 walls big, where we actually highlighted and coated and changed the high risk areas. Obviously, also from information from the community itself on historical data that they had and gave us. Then, what did the community say? Positive feedbacks included homes felt warmer in winter, sense of safety increased, improved aesthetics, better waterproofing. Guys, and just overall beautification, if you want to give it a word, of the actual dwelling itself. As we know, we don't want to normalize informal settlements, but we have to work with what we have at the moment. Guys, and also challenges, as we say, it's a pilot. We learned a lot from this. High condensation inside the houses when people started cooking and actually now living in the space. So yeah, guys, with that information and feedback from the community, we already have plans in place if we do another project or if we get people to assist in funding and stuff to do another project. Then also big challenges for us was delays due to the nice weather you guys have here in Cape Town. Community liaisons, and guys, some of the homes that we started with, Josh, I think that was our biggest learning in the first week. The houses, the state that we found the houses in, guys, the roofs, as soon as we started coating them, they started sagging because the product is quite heavy. We then obviously had to take about a 2-week break from the project almost, in essence, to strengthen all the infrastructures that we already did. I think we were sitting on 9 at that time when we had to relook what we are actually doing, as it was a learning for all of us. Real world fire tests, guys, just those pictures on that side is an actual real life test before we went in and started the pilot project. We did a full scale fire test at Epping Fire Station. Okay. Then also August 2024 and May this year we had fires that broke out in one dwelling, and obviously normally it would jump to the following ones. I'm gonna rush now, I got my signal. So guys, to try and make it short, So basically, we had the fires. Normally, if that fire would have occurred, we would have 10 plus houses that burned down. In this case, we had just the actual dwelling that burned, and the fire was contained. Didn't spread, didn't jump. Okay. Then, guys, where to from here? The pilots showed that Tekrok works, has real potential. I think the product itself speaks for itself. Guys, if I tell you that was a wooden house before we started, would you believe me? That's actually wood underneath that. That's how well the product sticks to any substrate. So, yeah, guys, the thing is we need to protect the vulnerable communities. We need more buying. We need all of you guys sitting here to support us. Get the word out there. Tell people about the product. Please share the presentation with whoever you know who can, the guys that make decisions. Let them see the product, and then from there on, guys, we are willing as Mandoval to help see what we can do and cannot do for the communities. Okay, and that's basically it. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Masixole Nkumbesi. I am one of two heads from the Informal Settlements Management branch. We have a total of 69 staff members looking after 849 informal settlements. And we have an impossible task. And apart from just the core activities that we do as the Informal Settlements Management team, we also, we also are the glue and that basically binds every single person who has any gripe, issue, concern to address with any matter that pertains to informal settlements. And we are also the punch bag, because you know that department where nobody likes it. Nobody likes us from the formal residents, because they are very convinced that we place the informal settlements next to them. The informal settlements are very convinced we're not doing enough. That's why they're still where they are. The NGOs know very well that they could be doing far better if only we did A and B and C. We have our sister colleagues in the water and sanitation, in urban waste, in energy directorate. They all know that only if there were no informal settlements, their lives would be a lot easier, and therefore they know where to punch and whom to punch. However, be that as it may, we still do our best to ensure that we do the role of facilitating all the stakeholders, ensuring that everyone gets attention that they need at the fastest possible opportunity, with all the flawed relationships that are in existence. And unfortunately, the new team that I was referring to of leadership has had to inherit it all. Right. Excuses aside. Now fire. How do we get to know about a fire? In informal settlements, this is how you get to know when there's a fire around. And then for us, we receive this from our sister department and DRM. And if there's one thing I can say, guys, everyone who has spoken before me has said whatever they said was true. We are looking forward to collaborations. We are fortunately already in good relationships with many of the people who are here and who are around here. We should be, and we are. So we are constantly pushing to enhance these relationships because that's how we yield the outcomes, and that's how they yield, every one of them, the outcomes that they desire in our environment. Now, the way we've approached how I present what we have here was to just see what information that's relevant can actually be accessed and is about us and is about relevance to the topic. So much so that whatever you're going to see here, it was not from the archives of the city. It was something that you all have equal access to. So there's nothing that I have unfair access to.
Zizinto ezenzeka ngemihla ngemihla nani nizaziyo asinto ndifumene kwi-archives.
Please give me the next one. What I've also done is, apart from just touching on the issues, I've made references to where the sources are, so that if there's a point you see and you want to elaborate further, you can also do your own follow-up and you can actually elaborate and get more of that information. So much so that the question which was asked here, the unfortunate part is the person who asked the question, how do we get access to this information and all that, is not here. So they are missing out on this. And the next one is, and in all of that, with 7 minutes, there's so little. I've already consumed 3 or 4 of that. As a result, it'll literally be seeing what is a reiteration of what has already been said at some point. As a result, maybe if you can just gladly move through the slides, I will appreciate. Otherwise, 7 minutes, I need 7 hours. So we've also made reference to many similar occurrences and instances that are happening elsewhere, worldwide. Because the problem that is affecting informal settlements in Cape Town is not purely from a Cape Town problem. Informal settlements are a global phenomenon, and Cape Town is affected just as much as other cities, as much as other continents, and we are literally one of the many. And with the examples I have and the fun facts that I have there, it's one of those where literally you can see that it's a global problem. And the one thing that's constant about the municipal environments and the informal settlements is that the people who find themselves in those informal settlements do not particularly like those environments. They would like to change it. They hope for better future. They think things could be improved. Hence, we are constantly the punching bags. And guess what? We appreciate those because that's how we get to resolve, we get to be aware of what's happening. As a result, we are very much open to whether it's suggestions, criticisms, advice, collaborations, assistance. That's basically us because we are the hub of informal settlements. And we have the faces of those whom we see when we talk of informal settlements. And our main contact person is our MMC over there, and that is just one of our managers in the informal settlement space. And one thing for sure, we are constantly, we are the champions of those who live in the informal settlements. At the same time, we are the ones who still have to hold the whip to ensure that there's some relevance, there's some level of order and sanity which actually prevails in the informal settlements, because at the end of the day, that is an environment where people live. So
sithi ke abajongene nayo into eqhubekayo inzolo ngamanye amazwi sithi abajonge imeko esenzekayo leyo isithi abahlababikosi.
It cannot just be the hub of crime because we have a whole lot of people who are wishing and looking forward to make their lives easier. And therefore, we need to collaborate with all different directorates within the municipality, within the province, and nationally. And we also have a lot of collaborations that we do with international organizations as well.
Sisebenzisana nayo wonke yonke imibutho ukulungisa le meko kuyo.
And as far as innovations and opportunities are concerned, we also appreciate and we also ensure that those who have innovations are given the platform to thrive, platform to try them out. And we also are seeing some familiar faces there, and with some of the people who are on the screen over there. And next one, please. We still welcome many solutions. We welcome research. We welcome collaboration because this is what we want. We realize that it's not a one-man problem, one entity problem. It's collaboration. And we all have a shared responsibility. And it's not just in Cape Town where you find the NGOs taking lead in many of these roles. NGOs do play a factor. They do play a role in the society to make it work. And we give the NGOs as much platform as we can. We intend to continue doing that way. We intend to improve those. And we very much appreciate in awe of what Kindling has achieved. And we very much appreciate what you guys are doing. We know it's also done elsewhere by other entities, such as the one which we have actually indicated over there, which is in Brazil. And we still are looking forward to many more Kindlings out there because we have one Kindling which is very active in Cape Town. There are so many cities with the same problems. Someone else must fill the gap. As much as we all have all these challenges, we still have to ensure that we remain grounded. We look forward to collaborations and we look forward to many opportunities to express what the challenges are, to still serve as the glue. And we are hoping that that role will actually be played by us as diligently as everyone else is in their role, whether there's conflict or not. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't have a formal presentation, so I'm talking like I'm talking to friends. I think we're dealing with a disaster, and it's a reality that will be with us for many years to come. Yeah, informal settlement, as you are saying, is an international phenomenon because people move from different rural areas into cities. And they move from neighboring countries where there's conflicts and other problems into big cities for better lives. And for people living in cities, we will always see that as a problem because they go into our backyard and create shacks and so on. But the reality is that these are human beings that also want to live, and the only survival or better survival can happen in cities better than rural areas. Or in conflict areas like in our neighboring countries, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, even as far up as DRC, and so on and so on. Those are conflict zones. So informal settlements, I think we need to make peace with the fact that they will be there. But the question is, what do we do to make the informal settlement better, not to affect other people, so not to intrude into other people's rights, but also make sure that because they are human beings, they live. My starting point is from that story that I was telling earlier to say part of just trying to do what we do, if we can couple this with education and allow allow those people who we see as beneficiaries to be part of processes of some sort, to try and find solution and understand. And there should be an understanding between people living in informal settlement to people living outside informal settlement to say, how do we start working together? At this point in time, if you take like in Khayelitsha, you have an informal settlement next to formal settlements, and the tension is there because the people in informal settlements see that as a problem. And those other people, they see that as like, you see us not as human beings. Yeah. But I'm going to shorten what I'm going to say. My name is Ben Nkuna. I work for an organization called Ikhayalami. We are a disaster response. We use that prototype. And what we're saying is that people living in informal settlement, many of them will live there for many years, and some of them will die there. As much as there are promised houses, RDP and so on, not many people will end up in those houses. We're saying, while you're living in informal settlement, you need to live in a better house, because that's your home. Doesn't matter how you look at it. They're spending 90% of their time there. Some of them are doing business, some are working, earning very little money, but that's where they live. That's their home. So we developed this prototype. The prototype is fire and flood retardant. And I'm happy. We did our own test, but we still do not have an accreditation from the city from the fire, because I think we need that, and we're struggling to get the right person to help us get the certification that this material is right and is accredited. The power of this is that you can develop this in one day. You can build a house. So I'm going to ask you to go into the house where we're putting it together. We assemble the house in the factory and make panels, and we use the treated timber inside, and we go and assemble it on site. To build one house in one day, it takes only 5 people, 4 builders and a supervisor. That's it. They start it in the morning in the factory. By the end of the day, it's complete. Go back to the house. Please go back. It's complete. It has got a window. It has got a door, 2 windows and a door. And there's a clip. You can see we made it with safe tops. There's a clip, so it gives it a strong peace of mind for a person that leaves the kids at home, because it's not easy to open it with a tow bar, so it prevents even an easy access by criminals. But the other power is that this material is 0.47 thick, so when fire comes from one side and it reaches this house, it doesn't pass to the other house. It's a fire break, so it doesn't burn. And we dig it in the trench down there. It prevents water from coming in. So it's fire and flood resistant, but it's also a clip that prevents an easy access of crime. So what we have seen after building this is that a lot of people will put a plasma inside, which they never had a proper TV, and they buy nice couches there, they put a nice slab there. What it says is that now I can live like other human beings, because I know my furniture will not burn, things inside will not easily be stolen, my kids can stay a bit warmer inside there because some of them put cladding inside and makes it warmer, and therefore they see that as a home. If you find an RDP somewhere and you have to move, you unclip the thing and put the panels in a truck, go and use it in your RDP house's backyard and rent it, or for your boys or for your kids, or you can use it as a shop somewhere there and generate income. So We again, as I said, it takes one day to do that. So when we have pressure and we have to do 2 houses, we just create 2 teams. And that requires 2 teams, but only 1 truck, 1 vehicle. Takes another group in the morning there, takes another group there, drop them there after they do their stuff, and then goes and collect them, and that's it. We unfortunately an organization that is donor funded. So we respond to fires, and unfortunately again we only do 120 to 150 houses a year because of the limited amount of the limited resources in terms of funding, and that's been our problem for quite a while, and we're looking at ways to do better. And Nozuko will testify to that. She had 7 houses burnt down because she knows me and she calls me. And I was very ashamed to say, my friend, I have so many people in the list. Somebody was talking about how many houses that burn down every day in Khayelitsha. So, I mean, if you compare to 150 houses per year, it's almost a drop in an ocean. As much as it has got a huge impact, but we don't have resources to respond. We do 3 things. We use this to respond to fires, but also we identify poor families, houses that really shows that the houses are so fragile, and we build for them before them. Also we do. So we prevent, we respond. Lately we're selling these houses. I'm going to talk 2 minutes. Lately we're selling these houses, and we have seen people interested in buying because they don't want to wait for the fire, and they have a job and they see informal settlement as their home. And we hope that we can scale up that program so that we do more without depending from the donor. Finally, we want to do this in a reblocking form. So we want to sell to more than 1 person in a place, maybe 4 to 5. In mitigation of possible global warming, because when the global warming hits at its peak, the people that are going to feel the impact of the global warming are people living in informal settlement, because it's going to be very hot and people will die in there. So we believe that with this, if we do reblocking, we will allow some wind to come in, and we're going to try and put some ventilators there, and we're going to paint it white so that the impact of the global warming does not affect these people severely. Three takeaways. One, if we can from this meeting get some support around how do we get this fire approved, or we can get connection to where we can get that approved. That's one takeaway. Two, we are going to start selling the structures so that we reach out to more people, and people can take ownership of the fact that they need to improve their lives. And there's one last takeaway that I wanted to talk about. We want to run away from donor-funded organizations. We will still continue to receive donations, but we want to create a business model out of this. And I hope this gives a gist of what we are. Thank you very much.
My name is Rhoda. Everybody calls me Rhoda. And I'm responsible for community fire awareness as well as school fire awareness throughout the Western Cape. So my area is quite large, all the way from the West Coast right up to the Garden route. Okay. So we obviously have a keen interest in the importance of fire awareness in the Western Cape. The unique fire risks that is especially in the Western Cape and rural, informal settlements and rural areas. as well as what role the community, or what role does community education play in preventing fires. We know that especially in the Western Cape, we have factors such as dry, windy summers, the flammable building materials that our structures are made of, the use of open flames for heating and cooking, and that ultimately results in the rapid spread of fires in densely built informal areas. So the strategies that we use is fire awareness campaigns. So those fire awareness campaigns takes place once a year in October. It takes place in October so that we are preparing our communities and schools for the fire or the summer fire season that lies ahead. So this fire awareness campaign rotates, so it goes from region to region. So last year we were in the West Coast, and this year it will be in Riversdale. So it brings together all partners and stakeholders that are involved in community outreach, not necessarily just fires. So it is sort of like your two-song outreaches where you have all the service delivery people or partners present, as well as a keen focus on environmental education. Okay, so the community fire safe days, this is this is where our communities that has attended fire safe workshops takes ownership of their community and they host the community fire safe day. So why would you think that we host these community fire safe days? Anybody? Why do you think we host or we allow the communities to host a community fire safe day?
I would say we contribute to community capacity, so if community speaks here as a capacity of how to workshop regards to fire safety, they bring in a message across. We move it to the community, see that it's coming from one of them. So we form the community of familiar face, familiar voice, Indian language, so it's more, we more accepted
and personalized. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, if you think about some tube campaigns.
Yeah.
Lately there was a TV awareness campaign. And there was in the 80s when it was at its peak.
Yeah.
There were lots of education and so on. And as much as we still have HIV prevalence. But there's not many people dying because people know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think fire is also, as the informal settlement grows, fire grows, the risk of fire grows, and it is something that is not going to be solved by building houses, because it's bigger than just building the houses. So education or getting people involved are effective. It's better than us sitting here cracking our head about something that affects them, not us.
And ultimately, it's about communities taking ownership of their risk. Okay? Because every community's risk differs. The risk that I find in the West Coast will be completely different to the Overberg. So it is about communities taking ownership of their own risks because they identify their own risk. I don't go there and tell them this is your risks. Even though I do a pre-assessment of the community, I allow them to tell me what risks or what they deem as a risk. Okay? So the community fire safe days is just about that. Community taking ownership of their risk. And how we can collaborate to minimize the risks. The risk reduction workshop, so that is the fire safe workshops. It usually entails a 5-hour workshop with a community forum, and it would be a community forum that is very active within the community, because we want the messaging to be sustained, so it goes beyond that 30 people attending the workshop. It needs to filter to the rest of the community. 6 months after that workshop, we follow it up with an impact assessment to see, has fires decreased? So this is usually 6 months after the fire season or the summer season, and we get that information from fire department as well as our dispatch and control centers. So one of the key learner programs that we have is the school debates and climate action projects. So the climate change debates takes place every year in August, which is around the corner now, on the 22nd of August. So we work very closely with the Department of Education. We send the invite to the curriculum heads. They send it out to the schools. They register. And because of budget, we can only host 8 schools at a time. So we also depend on okay. So we also depend on budget or funds for this, and for the second year we've had Santam as well as Woolworths sponsor our debates, climate change debates, which is a really good help for us, because a lot of these children that wants to come to the debates, they lack transport issues. Some of them, we bring them out into the reserves or the smart living center that you've seen in Greenpoint. For some of these children, it's the first time that they visit these centers, you know, and it's important to bring them out of the comfort zone, I almost want to say, or out of the environment, so that they can see the so that they can see the impact it has if we are all environmentally responsible. Our early childhood development center workshops, this is aimed at the educators and principals of the ECD centers. So this has a very holistic approach in the sense that we educate the educators and principals like a trainer course. They in turn take it back to the centers. Our firefighters does the practical part of it, practical or action learning. We then do a community door-to-door so that the entire approach is holistic. Yeah, so we're just going to flip through this. So reporting fire hazards. Okay, so you can click. Yeah, so these are just a few of the messages.
sithanda ukuqaqa zabantu zenkonzo zemililo singabelelana kwakunye nezinto esinokuzenza sezisimeme i-workshops zokuba ezizazazi nge-workshop ezizawuzenza ezibadela
Okay, so I just flew through that, but if you have any questions, please feel free to get my contact details from Danielle or Jenny, and I'll be happy to respond. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Standing before you is Zolakazi and Awodwa. So we're both residents of BM section in Khayelitsha, but I'm also on the Kindling side. So I'll just give a reflection on what we did in the sessions back in section A in the past few months. So we started with the FRA assessments, which is the fire risk assessments, where the fire ignition process was. So we were just assessing like how the people in section A think, like in terms of what possibly starts fire in their settlements. So this is where we discovered that people cook while intoxicated, and that the people smoke, and then this is where they are negligent, and maybe they forget while they're smoking, and then the cigarette falls. And also this is where we got to assess like how we think fire spreads. So this is where the people mentioned that this is the space in between the houses. The material that they build within the houses is also what helps the fire spread. So we also got to assess like the community fire response. So yes, the people mentioned that like before the fire services arrive, when there is a fire, they are the first people to respond to the fire. So this is where they mentioned the cases of having to demolish houses that are on fire to stop the spreading of the fire. And also they mentioned also that the fire services, when they arrive, like they arrive at a later stage. Yes, at a later stage, and they arrive after they've demolished the houses and stopped the fire themselves. And then we got to the last stage, which is the fire service responses. So the people mentioned that the fire services arrive later, and also they have to wear their uniforms and everything. So this is the fire service tactics that they have to do, like before they have to attend to a fire. Yes, and then we got to the fire risk reduction, where the people mentioned that in terms of, in the case of a fire, like after like, how can I put this? So, okay, sorry. So like after they shared like the ideas, like what they think is the things that start a fire. They mentioned like the ideas that they think could help reduce the fire spread and ignitions. So they shared ideas of maybe having to, because they mentioned that this place that is a land, this is a land that is filled with natural vegetation. So they mentioned that there was once more than 2 fires that happened because of that land, yes, and that impacted the other houses near that area. So in this fire risk reduction, they mentioned the idea of having a rose cleanup, which they call this place rose. So they mentioned that like a cleanup done there to reduce the illegal dumping that is done there, and also to clear the natural vegetation. So this is where Kindling came in, because like these ideas came up in those sessions, and since implementation wasn't a thing that Kindling said they do for the community, but after these sessions, but after this FRA and fire risk reduction, Kindling came back into the community, and this is whereby they shared that they could assist in doing this cleanup for the community. Oh, yes, and also the people actually, this is where we saw like the impact of having community residents standing in the forefront. So they could be able to lead the process. And also this, the people in power, like, or the people that have the means to assist can stand be on standby, and then the community can meet. Yes.
On my side, I will be talking about the challenges that we are facing as the BM residents and what we have learned throughout the pilot project. The challenges were like the response of the fire department when we trying to call if there is fire. We would it would take time for them to respond because the line that we are using would be the wrong number. So instead of reaching the person who's supposed to be dealing with BM the section, we would go the landline would go to the other person, so that would delay the process of them to come and respond. And then we also came up with the when there's after the fire, there will be lack of coordination through the people who would come and respond, like your SASA, the stakeholders, your fire department. That would also delay the process of for the healing of the people. And then we also came across with the problem of if there's only 2 or 3 structures that have burned, we would that would also delay the issuing of the kits that your material that people be given. And we also have a challenge of water pressure in BM section, and we also have tried to engage with the water and sanitation department, and they say the issue is because of illegal connections. That may be the lead of causing more houses to burn, because when we in need of water, there will be no water in our taps. So that's also a problem that we are facing. And we also have 5 fire hydrants that were installed after the big fire we had in 2013 of BM section that destroyed many structures. And then also those fire hydrants are not monitored. They are not maintained, and then the state that those fire hydrants are in now, they are not functioning properly. So if the city can come, or the department, whoever install those fire hydrant and come and maintain, so that in case of when there's fire happening, and then if the fire department came and respond at the right time, and then they would also make use of those fire hydrants.
So, you've all heard of us before because we're hosting, but I thought I would just give a little bit of an introduction for those of you who don't know as well. Kindling is an organization that exists solely to improve fire safety. We believe that fire safety is a right, not a privilege, and we work towards fire safety for all. Our mission is about working in the humanitarian and development sectors. So some of the places, for example, that Ben was speaking about, with refugee camps and contexts that might feel quite foreign and different to what we see in Cape Town, are definitely within our remit. And we also work in informal settlements, of course, here in Cape Town and in other parts of the world. We do a lot of research. We work closely with universities, other NGOs, governments, and more. We're always learning, and we try to help others learn. We do a lot of advocacy work. And finally, we feel like if we do all of that and don't figure out how to bring it into practice, we won't actually reach who needs it most. So we practice. I won't go through them, but this is just some of the work that Kindling's done, mostly from other parts of the world. So this is one quick project I want to highlight. So last year, Kindling carried out fire experiments in the Western Cape. We actually built 20 houses and then burned each of them. which isn't always an easy thing to share, because it can be difficult to think, why would we have given those 20 houses to people? But what we've learned is that science is really important to help us understand how fire behaves, how it spreads, and what can be done about it. So Kindling very much believes in science, but that's only part of who we are. I'm personally a fire scientist and an engineer by background. We also really believe that we need to look at the way that houses are built all over the world. I'm sorry if these are triggering images for anyone. I should have done a trigger warning before. These are just 9 of the experiments showing some of the different types of construction that we were looking at. Some are common here in South Africa. We certainly have the metal sheeting houses. We have the Wendy houses, which are timber flats. But we also have in the Eastern Cape, for example, mud houses. So those are 3 of the types of structures that we tested. We are also looking at plastic sheeting, thicker plastic, bamboo, 2 types of bamboo, woven bamboo, split bamboo, cement block, and more. So this was based off of a database we built looking at 450 different types of housing. Often called shelters in the humanitarian sector, from across 90 countries. And then we were able to design an experimental program to try to understand. As I said, Kindling is very scientifically focused. And so we don't just burn things and look to see what happens. We're making lots of measurements. So this isn't a spaceship or something funny with the big poles. I won't explain what's going on, but it's not a spaceship. Okay? We don't have time. But when I said Kindling is science-based, people tend to just think about the physical sciences. We forget about the social sciences. We forget about sociology, anthropology, psychology. We forget about the economics. We forget about all these factors that are so critical to understand such a systemic problem like fire. And so Kindling exists to bring together these different types of sciences. And we look to learn from the people that know fire issues the best. We use these sciences as ways of engaging, but ultimately to us, the experts in the fire problem are residents. The people who live with the fire problem day in and day out, and know what's possible in their community and what's not possible. And ultimately, the people who are often the first to respond. So last year, Kindling went out and looked to find a community to pilot. I know the pilot word is a big one today, but we do have to start somewhere. And so we looked at where could we work to be able to really test out how community-led fire risk reduction was possible. We partnered with Development Action Group, DAG, and Ikhayalami. And Zolakazi was someone we met through Ikhayalami. And she was able to introduce us to BN section leadership in Khayelitsha, which then led to leadership choosing that section A within BM would be the location of the project. So this is about section A and trying to improve household fire safety and community level fire safety. It is also about developing a model that can scale and be brought to other communities. So the word fire risk assessment is thrown around a lot when you talk about fire. But sometimes we all have different ways of looking at it. As a fire engineer, I've done fire risk assessments in so many different buildings. And the methodologies we take are different depending on what we're trying to learn and understand. So for Kindling, we start by trying to understand the problem. The frequency, scale, nature of the problem. We're looking there at public data sets, talking to the fire services, trying to see where fires have happened, for example. Then we start engaging with the community and really just facilitating them and reflecting on the fire hazards in their own community, as well as the vulnerabilities, whether it's the vulnerability of a structure or the vulnerability of a person. And we really believe that asset-based community development is core, and I think it resonates with a lot of the conversation we've been having today. So there's a big focus on what assets already exist in that community, and how can those assets be transformed into capacity for fire safety. Ultimately, fire safety comes from the connection of all the dots. Kindling isn't bringing fire safety to communities. Fire safety already exists there. There are things happening. We're helping to amplify them, to connect them, to improve them, to support them in scaling. So I know time is running short, and I can't break my own rules. Yes, I know. I have my own clock. Okay, Justin. These are some of the activities that we do. I won't go through them. To go through fire risk assessments. Just a few pictures. You'll recognize a couple people in the room. And one thing I do want to emphasize before handing over is that one of the critical issues with addressing the fire problem, in my opinion, is that we keep calling it the fire problem. And it's just too big and too scary to do. But actually the fire problem is a lot of little problems all put together. And so in Section A, Khayelitsha, residents created 33 problem statements. And these problem statements all have their own description and ideas associated with them to try to define what is the real problem and what can be done about it. Those problem statements then lead to the generation of ideas. And then there's fire risk reduction planning through these different pillars. So what education can make a difference? Okay, 1 minute. Disciplinary action, social interventions, physical interventions, and advocacy. I won't spend time talking about this. Maybe, I don't know if you two will be speaking to it, so I'll skip it. And one last thing I want to mention is in June, we also piloted something called Fire School, where we had 15 residents from BM Section A spend an entire week with us in Kindling's office, and we were doing a lot more teaching than we normally do in the community facilitation. Really trying to make sure that fire science was as accessible as possible. Bring it out of the university into the hands of residents. Talking about advocacy and love languages, think to die, inspiration from actors and engagement. And what I'm really excited about is that the people who went through fire school then wanted to bring it out to the rest of their community, to other communities. And that led us to bring Justin on. So now Justin's working with us to create an educational film series. Some of you might be featuring in it. And we're also doing facilitated education around the films. I think I might have gone over something.